Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. As Brad mentioned, we're going to be talking about the warehouse management features that are available to you in Dynamics GP, as well as how something like the PanatrackerGP inventory solution can be used to truly unlock those warehouse management features within Dynamics. I've been with Panatrack for about 5 years now, everything from sales and business development to marketing. I've spent a lot of time working with our development team, our product direction team, as well as many of our clients on figuring out what the right process and workflows are to enable them to really implement a truly integrated solution and take full advantage of what's available within Dynamics. Panatrack's been producing inventory control software since 2004, expressly for GP. So that means that for the last 13 years, every solution we've released is designed specifically to integrate with Dynamics GP and provide users of the Panatracker application a streamlined method of capturing their transactions on the warehouse floor. That means receiving orders, site transfers, stock counts, and creating those transactions in real time in Dynamics. If you've ever spent time working in Dynamics GP, you may know there's some very robust inventory control available. However, it still requires things to be manually keyed in, written down, and passed along, often on a clipboard or in physical inbox. With something like the Panatracker application, we put the ability to capture those transactions directly into GP in the hands of the people who are doing them. As we get started, let's move into our agenda here. We'll cover 3 main points in this webinar. We'll look at the PanatrackerGP infrastructure. We'll look at the GP inventory features. So what's already available? What do you have on hand that you can use? And then we'll actually look at our PanatrackerGP solution itself and get into a true demonstration of the capabilities there. As Brad said, if at any time you have questions, feel free to enter them into the GoToWebinar here, and we'll do a bit of a session at the end where we go through those and take any questions that come after that. To start off with, let's look at the infrastructure of the PanatrackerGP solution. As I mentioned, everything we do is intended to work directly with Dynamics GP as the hosted database. It is our single source of truth. That means no matter what, we want you to be able to look at Dynamics and know that that's an accurate representation of what you see in the warehouse. We use a wireless network infrastructure, just a standard Wi-Fi connection in the warehouse, and we link our mobile computers, our mobile devices that you see on the right of the screen there, directly with the Dynamics GP database, managing all of that through the Panatracker dashboard, or what we call the portal. This portal is the hub of the Panatrack application. While everything is created directly in Dynamics, we still keep full-time records and a trail of exactly what happens on the handheld scanners and what's submitted back into GP. For those of you on the accounting side, don't worry. None of the PanatrackerGP transactions post instantly into your ledger. Everything is submitted as a transaction in a batch and can then be posted either manually or with the use of an automated posting solution such as Postmaster, giving your team the full ability to not only see the transactions that went in, but approve them and go through that bit of an audit process. The PanatrackerGP portal is the hub, as I said. What you're seeing on the right here is a sample of our system status page. The system status page. This shows you all of the current settings and status of the Panatracker application, from the environment it's using, printers that are added, what licenses are there. Next up, we're looking at the device page of the PanatrackerGP portal. This is where you can see all of the devices currently active on the application, and you can see which versions of the application these devices are running. This makes managing your devices very easy as you upgrade the software, as you make status changes. We can see the device name, we can see the profile that it's assigned to, and that's something we'll talk about in a moment here. All of that's available. On the right, you'll notice that under version number, we have 2 versions in black and 3 versions in red. What that means is that we've updated our software. We've given a very simple flag to indicate to anyone checking the portal. So any of your warehouse, inventory, or accounting managers who check the portal can come in and see that these handhelds are still out of date. They need to be updated. To update our solution is just a matter of relaunching the application, and it automatically does the work for you. As I mentioned, we have the Panatracker profiles. You'll see device profile there towards the middle of the column. These profiles can be set up for users, for positions, whether it's a receiving manager, an order fulfillment. And that's an overall way to configure the solution and allow you to control what your users have access to. Next, we'll look at the different inventory solutions that Panatrack offers. Talk a little bit about these. As you can see on the right, we offer solutions that cover many industries, from distribution and manufacturing, food and beverage, to energy and construction. Our main inventory solutions are the stockroom inventory for projects and jobs. That includes an integration with the Key to Act software. So for many of our customers in HVAC, some in mining, they use these so that they can issue inventory out of their stock to a project or to a job and accurately capture exactly what's happening. Inventory for distribution and manufacturing is pretty standard for us. Many companies handle distribution centers. Many companies are producing their own product, whether it's furniture, a brewery, anything like that. And then our central warehouse management solution, that's kind of the hub and spoke approach, where you may have one major warehouse and smaller warehouses throughout a region, throughout a state, throughout a country, and you need to move inventory between that. Now we'll look at some of the key features in the Panatracker system. First of all, a major feature is the flexibility within our configuration settings for the Panatracker application. As I mentioned, we do support profiles. This is a profile assigned to a user or a group of users. Within these profiles, a couple of examples would be specifying which transactions are available for each user profile. You can also assign batch codes to particular transactions. There's also the ability to set default sites and default bins across transactions on a profile level. The goal of the Panatracker application and the profiles is to give full control to tune the Panatracker application to your specific business process needs. Flex fields are another large part of what Panatrack does that sets it apart from the rest. These are user-definable fields that can be used to capture any additional information throughout the application. They can be set to be disabled, optional, or required. And you'll see some of those when we get into the real demo of the application. What we'll look at next is the actual flex field configuration page within the PanatrackerGP portal. What you see here is just a small section of the transactions that Panatrack offers, as well as showing you that we have the flex fields available. You'll notice for add adjustment, we have there a number of flex fields available. We can give the field a name, facility, signature, approved by. Then on the right under behavior, we can set them as required, as disabled, or as optional. A required field cannot be bypassed. The user on the scanner must enter the data. Should a field be left as optional, that field can be left blank if they'd like. And a disabled field will simply not appear on the Panatrack solution. It will keep that screen simple and easy for your users. These are available throughout all of our transactions, meaning there's no need to customize the solution of the software to meet your particular business process needs throughout the warehouse. It's an out-of-the-box solution that can be tailored to your specific application without the need for custom programming, custom development. All of this can be done by your team, by the team at Turnkey, and the Panatracker solution consultants are always available to help you tune the application to exactly what you need. So what we'll look at here is the receiving transaction and the flex fields there. This has the most user-definable or flex fields of any of our transactions. We have two on the transaction level, allowing you to capture, in this case, a vendor document ID. And then you see we have another flex field 2. Following this, we have 2 additional on the unit level. that can be used to capture data about a bulk tracked item. So these could be any notes you need to capture. It could be a color difference. It could be anything at all. It's just a flex field, an optional field that can be used. We then offer 2 flex fields for serial tracked items. So maybe you're not tracking lots, you're not tracking attributes, but there is something you need to require at the receiving dock to make a note of on inventory that comes in. We offer 2 additional flex fields for lot numbers, and that's in addition to the GP lot attributes that are already existing within the Dynamics environment. Finally, when a user hits the Finalize button, they're prepared to submit their transaction, we offer them an additional 4 flex fields to capture at the transaction level after they've gone through the process. This could be a username. This could be a note of a date or a time. Any of this can be captured right there by the user and stored for later lookup. We also have the ability to run pre- and post-stored procedures for any of the transactions and flex fields. Again, this allows that native extensibility of the Panatrack solution. This eliminates the need for that custom work. Adding a stored procedure is very straightforward compared to something as going to a vendor and asking them to redesign a transaction or give you something additional for a transaction you're already using. What you see here on our transaction setup page is the ability to run those pre- and post-stored procedures. To give you a bit of a scenario in which the application can be used like this. There's a company that's maintaining their inventory, using their inventory to maintain fixed assets. They may want to capture parts removed from inventory and update the asset record at the same time. That means that this is an adjustment transaction on inventory where they can capture the items and the parts that they're taking out, but they also need to run an update on their fixed asset to give it new information. So they can complete the transaction and run a post-stored procedure to update the asset record on the last process, the last validated stage. Many different options they can do through a simple stored procedure. Again, a simple one example of how that extensibility that's native to Panatrack. The Panatrack Transaction Logging Database is a fantastic feature of the portal and something we've been very proud of for 13 years. This is detailed transaction logging, which allows us to capture all sorts of information from every transaction that is submitted on the Panatrack application. All of the standard transaction data that you see on the scanner is captured, as well as timestamps for when the transaction was created, for when the transaction was submitted. We capture what profile was used, what device was used. If a company has user IDs and logins enabled on their application, we'll capture the username of the individual who submitted that transaction, as well as the corresponding transaction number that we display both on the Panatracker application and within the Panatracker portal, and can be used to look up that transaction within GP. So if you ever need to reference it further, it's available there. Part of this transaction logging database is the ability to go back into the portal and look at what transactions have been submitted from the handheld scanners. You see here on the screen a table. So in our dash portal, you can filter through all of the submitted transactions. We give you, through those headings, you can sort them by when it was created. You can sort them by status, by profile, even by device if you want. All of those fields there allow you filtering, allow you to go through, sort, and filter to see what you need to see. This logs every transaction that was submitted, that was started and discarded. This also logs transactions that may have failed for whatever reason. In fact, using the PanatrackerGP portal, your accounting or your warehouse manager could log into the portal, pull up a failed transaction, look at the details. We show the full eConnect XML. They could say, here is why that transaction failed, fix the transaction in the portal, and resubmit right there from the portal without the need to go back to a handheld scanner or to go back out into the warehouse. Next up is our email notification setup. This is a detailed feature within the application, allowing you to notify users in the event of a specific transaction, scenario, or issue that may occur. This can be set up based on any business logic that you need. For example, we may set it up for an over-receipt on a purchase order, and you want the buyer to be notified right away that that inventory was over-received. We only ordered 10, but we received 12. It's a trigger. That email goes out. Now your buyer knows as soon as that transaction is submitted. Another part of the Panatracker portal is that you have the ability to allow or disallow, not allow, your receiving users to over-receive. We may say no. Over-receiving is not something we ever want to handle and turn that feature off. Many different options there. The data entry options for PanatrackerGP are what make barcoding so useful to us. Anybody can look up something by typing it into a computer. They can write it down and try to read numbers off of a label. But Panatrack takes that a step farther. We support multiple data entry options throughout the application, including barcode scanning, lookup lists, and of course the classic using the keypad on the scanner to type. Lookup lists allow our users additional visibility on the handheld scanners into things like the quantity available in the warehouse. Perhaps on a purchase order, we show them the items on the purchase order and the quantity remaining to be received. These lookup lists also support type ahead or contains filtering. That allows the user to enter portions of the data that they need and filter the results to speed the search through the system. The goal is efficiency, the goal is accuracy. That additional information I mentioned, you can see here. On the left, we show a receiving purchase order. You'll notice that that first item shows 36. The second line shows 24. The third line shows 6. This is the quantity remaining to be received. So when a user uses the lookup list, they see that right there. They see the items that are on it. There's a scroll bar, so they can use their finger or a keypad on the scanner to scroll through that list. On the right side of the additional information, you can see our remove inventory transactions where we show you the available and the on-hand inventory for items within Dynamics. So we see that we have 100 XLG, a serial tracked item selected. On hand, we have 58. Available, we have 42. Now, on hand and available, what's been allocated, what's actually in the warehouse? Something I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on. But that information is available right there on the handheld scanner. The type ahead or contains filtering means that in the PO field on that left window, you can see we typed in 07. We've now filtered down to only show purchase orders that include the number 07. On the right, our remove inventory transaction is our type ahead filtering. Typing in 12 filters us down to just items we have in the system that begin with a 1 and a 2. 128 SD RAM, one of my personal favorites for my testing and demo purposes. Our barcode control. Because barcode scanning is so important to warehouse management, and because it's something that Panatrack has truly set ourselves apart with, there's no reason we wouldn't support things like a GS1 128 or an FDA UDI barcode. I know it's a lot of gibberish there for most people, but we have expansive barcode control that allows us to take industry standard as well as custom user-created barcodes that contain more than one piece of data and populate all of the fields in our transaction in one single scan. We scan it, and as you can see here, one scan, we populate those 4 fields. This GS1 128 barcode contains an item number, a lot number, an expiration date, and a quantity or a weight field. Most people would look at this and it looks like a string of numbers, but the Panatracker application sees that and parses the data out to fill all 4 of those fields in one scan. This is a native feature of the Panatracker application. Panacode is our own in-house designed barcode format that allows the same process, the ability to encode multiple pieces of information into a single barcode. You see on the left an item with a serial number. On the right, an item with a lot number and a unit of measure. We have 1D barcodes represented. On the bottom, we also show a 2D barcode in the data matrix barcode format. This is something we recommend for many of our users who are doing lot tracked or serial tracked items where they intend to use a Panacode. Panacode is our cute little name for it here. In addition, should a user have something that you've defined in-house already, excuse me, or a vendor already prints a barcode that's not necessarily industry standard, we do offer all sorts of barcode control, and the Panatrack team can work with you regarding any questions you may have on how you can make full use of barcode tracking. We wouldn't be talking about barcodes if we didn't talk about automated label printing. Panatrack allows you to print barcodes from the moment inventory arrives in the warehouse and throughout its product life cycle with you. Automated label printing is available for transactions that add inventory, so adjustments, PO receipts, project receiving. We've also added the functionality on many other transactions. Movement of inventory such as site transfers or bin moves can be used if perhaps at the time inventory is added to a pallet or removed from a pallet. Panatrack can print barcodes throughout the warehouse steps, allowing you to make sure your product is always properly labeled, always properly tracked. Inventory and lot tracking, inventory and serial tracking. Two questions we receive here weekly. How can I track my lot numbers? How can I use serial numbers properly? Our breweries had a particularly tough time with their lots at first, but we've had great success moving them over to barcoding and lot tracking that really makes things simple. Panatrack supports full lot tracing capability, including the ability to sort lot numbers in our lookup lists. We also support the Panatrack lot mask feature, which we'll look at in a few moments. And all of this is configurable. Your lots are all set up within Dynamics already. The features are there. Panatrack simply unlocks them and makes them far easier to capture. Look here at our lot category setup within Dynamics. On the left, you can see there's attributes about lot numbers that can be captured, expiration dates, manufacturing dates. GP calls things the lot attributes. We can then sort our lot numbers on the Panatrack application by a number of factors. Often expiration date, receipt date, and quantity are the three most popular ways to sort lot numbers. Moving on from here, we're looking at that GP lot mask I mentioned earlier. This allows you to define how a lot number should be created, what segments should be used, alpha characters, numeric characters, user data, even symbols. All of this is configurable within Dynamics GP, and because Panatrack integrates seamlessly with Dynamics and uses Dynamics as a host database, all of that information, all of that data pulls directly through from Dynamics GP into the PanatrackerGP application. I already mentioned serial tracking. We also can serialize lot numbers. This isn't a requirement for everyone, but we have the ability to track lot numbers as basically a serial or a container number. This works for people when they receive multiples of the same lot into a single container that may have a weight or perhaps a length, another dimension that they need to track. In order to track those individual dimensions, we can add a lot number and a container ID that allows us to manage them throughout their time in the warehouse in a nice, easy way. So if we have an item with this single lot number and it's in a container, it's something that should be measured every time. No one wants to do that. No one wants to go through that work. By using the Panatrack application and recording your transactions on a handheld scanner against that, we make it easy to keep accurate track of what inventory, what lot numbers you have on hand. You can see here another example of labels that we've used for this. Flaxseed, in this case, was one of the solutions that we provided to a client. We're tracking that. It has a lot number, but it also takes a lot of space. It's something that's easier tracked in a large container. Multiple bins is a very unique feature of Dynamics that many people don't use because the overhead seems so great. At Panatrack, we know that to properly use multiple bin tracking, a barcode scanning solution is needed. We'll talk about multiple bins, and this is the sort of thing where you need to look at setting it up if it meets your requirements. Customers with overstock areas or who are running out of space often end up storing inventory in more than one location. When you're storing inventory in more than one location, multiple bins become something that's very effective in a warehouse. If that's the case, you should be looking at multiple bin tracking. There's much overhead with it when you're doing things on pen and paper. But once you add a barcode scanning solution, the ability to track multiple bins becomes far and away an easy process. The advantages of a multiple bin setup allows for allocations of sales orders to not only be on a site level, which you may be used to. We can allocate for sales orders all day long. It still makes it tough to see the real accurate inventory of what you have inside the warehouse. By using multiple bins, we can now assign allocations by bin. Using bins gives you a lot of flexibility and gives you the ability to see what you have available on a bin level throughout the warehouse. We also have multiple ways of setting up multiple bins as configured within GP, such as default bins on a site level, default bins on an item level. Using priority bins, you can also configure them with a minimum or a maximum quantity, allowing even more warehouse management system functionality out of your existing investment in Dynamics. Panatrack uses this additional setup to add more robust inventory management and logic to your inventory control practices. This bin setup in GP can define the defaults for receiving, the default for sales order fulfillment. And priority bins can define what locations you want to maintain stock and what levels you want to maintain stock in for each item. Some of the highlighted features for bin tracking is the ability to put away inventory from a receiving. We also support order fulfillment, giving you a logical pick path through the warehouse. When your user opens an order on their scanner, they're now directed through the warehouse following a bin path. We give them the ability to see where the bins are, to see what quantities remain in those bins. We also support the item bin move transaction, moving items from one bin to another. It doesn't sound like much, but once you start doing it in GP, you start doing it on paper and trying to get that typed in, somebody's going to miss a keystroke, somebody's going to transpose numbers. Now your inventory is out of whack. We easily record the movement between bin locations. We can even move a group of serialized inventory from one bin to another without requiring somebody to go through and scan each individual serial number. When we're doing this, we have the ability to auto-select all the serials or lots in a bin. This is used by customers who have many items in one bin. We talked about the ability to track by container. But if you're tracking cell phones or SIM cards, for example, there's a lot of serial numbers that fit into one bin. We can move that entire bin. All 10, all 15, all 100 serial numbers will be marked as moved. We can fulfill orders by capturing all of the serial numbers in a particular bin. For example, if we know that bin 1001 has 10 of the item 100XLG, a serial tracked item, we need to fill 15 for an order. When we select bin 1001 and confirm that we're taking the entire bin, we fulfilled 10 items just like that. Our advanced bin management is another feature that we've been working very hard at to enable all of our Panatrack users true warehouse management control. This add-on allows you to define what sort of bin you're using, whether it's for stock, whether it's an overstock bin. We have users with configured staging bins, and we can apply certain logic or rules to the bin in question. This is another example of that extensibility that we have added to GP's native features. Unit of measures are an important factor in the warehouse. Coca-Cola is a fine example. We may buy it at the gas station in the bottle, but the gas station may buy it by a case or by a pallet. Retail is like that through and through. Units of measure are very important, and we support them. If you have items with multiple units of measure, our application allows you to capture transactions in different units of measure. We often have tips that we say are to set up a unit of measure at the smallest unit you'll use, in this case in each. You'll also want to set up the proper decimal place for the use of this item. When it comes to this, Panatrack is available to help you set things up. Your partner, your GP partner, Turnkey Tech, is there to help you configure these things and walk you through the proper process. We don't recommend setting up a single master unit or master schedule in GP. We recommend setting up your units of measure schedules according to the different units of measuring conversions that will be used. You can make the assignments accordingly within GP. These are all things we work with to help you set up your system and configure it towards using best practices and getting the most functionality possible. You can see here we've got a little bit more information on that. The basics of how we work with the unit of measure are to handle everything in a base unit, the smallest unit possible, but allow your users in the warehouse to capture things on a case, or in this case maybe a pallet level, and convert that back to the base unit of measure so that when we submit it to GP, it's accurately handled on the back end. What you can see here is how the Panatracker application works when the unit of measure is enabled. On transactions where we're creating adjustments, site transfers, with receiving without purchase orders, we operate in the default unit of measure as the base unit, and we allow you to convert those as needed. Looking through here, you can see there's a number of different ways we handle this. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer them once we get to the end there. If you receive items from vendors, you often see barcodes and item numbers that don't match what you're using internally. Panatrack has what we call our manufacturer item cross-reference number. This allows you to use a vendor or a manufacturer-assigned barcode that doesn't match with what you have in GP. Gives you the ability to make the association at the receiving transaction directly in the Panatrack application. We also support it as a standalone transaction on the scanners. When that barcode is scanned, from that point forward, we will populate the GP item number into the transaction and pull through all of the information you need. We translate that for you in real time. You can set up a cross-reference and associate it with your GP item number. You can set up multiple cross-references for your different item numbers. You can see here in the example on the left, when we scan MFG 128 SD RAM, the Panatracker application reads that, translates it into the 128 SD RAM that matches our GP item number. We can also set up a conversion for a unit of measure within GP based on a particular barcode. This is another extensibility add-on that we offer. Takes the Panatrack application, takes the native functionality of GP and marries them to give you deep control and visibility into your inventory. It allows an item number that is specific to a unit of measure to populate not only that item number, but the unit of measure that's required to complete your transactions. Think of it as a bottle of Coca-Cola like we looked at earlier. The barcode on the bottle does not match the barcode that's on the 12-pack or on the 24-pack. Those barcodes certainly don't match what's on a pallet. With the Panatrack application, you can scan the barcode on the bottle, the barcode on the case, the barcode on the pallet, and we will populate the item number. We will populate the correct unit of measure for that. There is no need for your users to be doing the math in their head. Okay, I've got 2 cases, 12, that's 24. It's easy math, sure. But why put another step of the process there? Why put another place for something to slide through the cracks? Panatrack makes that as easy as possible. We've extended this logic to this level. We apply it within our software, making it an easy point for you to start scanning and capturing your transactions. see here with a manufacturer item number. And then on the right, there's a unit of measure where you can select case, you can select each. Whatever is set up in GP, the Panatrack application can configure with our SKU to unit of measure conversion. Now we will look at an actual transaction on my handheld. So I'm going to go ahead and pull over a live view of the PanatrackerGP application on my test device. What you're seeing on the screen is the exact screen of the device that I'm holding in my hands. So we will go ahead, we will go into our Inventory In menu. We will select our Receive Inventory transaction in the middle there. Got to tap it hard enough. You can see now we're into the Panatrack Receive Inventory transaction. We've got things like site filter and vendor that can be identified. These are filters on the transactions to make looking up information on it easier. If you see features here that stand out to you, something you'd like to know more about, Panatrack is happy to schedule a one-on-one consultative web demo where we create a demonstration tailored specifically to your needs and your business process. For now, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to bypass our site filter and our vendor filter fields, and I'm into our PO field. This PO field is where we have the ability to scan or type in our PO number. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and scan that. I set up a purchase order earlier using my name. Makes it easy for me. It bumps us down into our vendor document ID number field next. As we discussed earlier, vendor document ID is a flex field within our application that can be mapped back into Dynamics. In this case, we'll go ahead and just enter in 100 for that. As soon as we do this, we're ready to begin receiving our items. Now we just looked at scanning a barcode. Let's look at our lookup list. To access the lookup list, I can tap on the name item there. That purple box means I can access a lookup list. In addition to that, I can use the down arrow key on my handheld scanner to pull up the lookup list just like this. I now have the lookup list available right on my screen. Scrolling through what's available, you can see the 3 items I have on my purchase order. I have 3 line items with different quantities. So let's go ahead and let's select the 256 SD RAM. I'll press the Enter key on my keypad, populates the item number. I'm moved instantly down to my quantity field where a user can enter in the number. Let's receive 10 of these. Hit Enter. Processes that. I'm now into my next item field. For my next item, let's go ahead and let's scan that 128 SD RAM that we saw was on the PO. Scan the barcode. Just like that, I'm given this. We'll receive 20. Excellent. Let's use our review button on the bottom of the screen, see what that does. When you press the review button, you're populated here to a screen that shows you very simply what inventory has already been received on this. The top field is action. It says show my progress. This shows me only items that I have already made some progress on. If I clear that, I press the action button and I clear this field out, I've got 4 options: show all, show my progress, show no progress, or receive all. Well, show all is pretty straightforward. It's going to show you all of the items on that purchase order, regardless of whether we've received them or not. Show my progress, we saw earlier, is going to show me items that I've already received some of. Show no progress will show me only items that haven't been received at all on this transaction. And receive all is an optional feature that I happen to have enabled here, allowing a user to receive all of the items off of a purchase order at once. Why don't we go ahead and look at the show all feature. And you can see I've got my 3 line items there. I also have a perfect representation of the 3 different icons we use in this screen. The goal of these icons is to make it as easy as possible for a user in the warehouse to glance at the screen and see. A green check mark means I've received everything I ordered. If I scroll down, We've got that progress bar showing me I've received, in this case, 10 of 20 of my second line item. My third line item has that big red exclamation point saying I have received none of what's available here. We'll go back. We're into our item field. I can now scan an item. So let's scan our 128 SD-RAM again. Now you'll recall, we already showed that we received what we expected. When I key in that I've entered 10, I am now given a warning that I've received more for this purchase order more for this line item than was ordered. I'm given the opportunity to proceed or not. We'll say no. We're going to go back to our item field, and we're going to use our lookup list. Let's select our CAP 100 item. Now this is a lot tracked item, and this allows us to capture a lot number. Let's capture a lot number there, test 5. We can select a manufacture date that we can key in on our own or use a lookup list from. Our lookup list, you'll notice, is just a calendar. We'll say that was manufactured today. And for an expiration date, we'll expire that on the 5th of December. I simply key that in. I don't have to worry about putting in any slashes, spaces, dashes. 120517 populates that number right there. I can key in my quantity and hit enter. Just like that. If I go to my review screen, you'll see now I've received all of my 128 SD-RAM. I've received all of my CAP 100. And I've received 10 of my 256 SD-RAM. If I hit the submit button, Panatrack application is going to process for just a moment here, and then it pops up this message confirming that we've submitted that transaction. Shows us our transaction code. So that happens right there. Now let's jump back over here and look at some of our workflow options for receiving. What we did here is we received our inventory right into the warehouse. If a user is using multiple bins, they may use a put away. All of these different workflow options. So workflow options here with fast moving items where we move them close to where they're going to get picked from. There's all sorts of different things. When there's limited space in the receiving dock area, that put away directly from scanning is great. Other receiving scenarios that we have are quality control check, where we receive it to a quality control site or a quality control bin. We looked at over receipts when I received one extra from what I expected. The scenarios that can be used here is to record separate transactions, receive that additional inventory to a different bin, trigger that email notification we talked about earlier. If you're using multiple bins, we offer the directed put away transaction. This is a way to receive everything to a dock location and then put them away to their specified location in the warehouse. It does require using multiple bins, and Panatrack adds some logic by sending the user to put away to a sales order fulfillment bin or to a priority bin. This is all depending on how you've configured it working with our system. We get into our site transfers. Site transfers are a very simple transaction that can have a profound impact on your inventory visibility. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull that scanner back up on the screen here. We'll back out of our transaction there, and we'll go into our inventory track, our site transfer transaction. I can now select my from site. I can set this as a default in the Panatrack portal. As I mentioned, those options are all there. If you'd like to set your defaults for transactions on a profile or a user level, you can do that on the Panatrack portal. In this case, we're going to go ahead and we're going to select the warehouse site by scanning into it. We're going to bypass our ship method because that's not something we're going to talk about today. I then need to tell what site am I moving my inventory to. I'll scan the south warehouse. Now I'm ready to capture my item. What am I moving? Scan my item, key in my quantity, and I'm on to my next one. Let's move one more item. Let's move one of those. I hit enter. I hit the review screen, and you can see I have my site transfer review right here. It shows me what items I have. If I hit enter on an item, it shows me the details from warehouse to south. If I was using multiple bins, it would show me my from bin. It would show me my to bin. All of this is available right there in the hands of your warehouse user. I hit the submit button. Application takes just a moment, submits that transaction, shows me a transaction code on the scanner, and I'm ready to begin again. I'm ready to move more items. All of this happens right in the user's hand, submits transactions right to GP. To look at another transaction we offer is our directed transfer, or a transfer request transaction. This is something that gives the user the ability to create an internal order to request and handle the inventory transfer between sites or even bins in a warehouse. We'll look at the entry of the transaction on our portal and then look at how it can be handled throughout this. This creates the directed transfer site to site or bin to bin. We also allow the use of a via location. Ooh, we skipped ahead there. We also allow the use of a via location, meaning you can move something to a truck and from a truck to the new warehouse. What you see up on the screen is our directed transfer order on the Panatrack portal. Yes, that's right. We can create transactions for the application right on the Panatrack portal. We can select our from site. We can select our to site if that's something we'd like to do. We select our default user or our ship to site. All of this is available right there on the Panatrack portal. Once it's done, it does require the approval to be released to the handheld scanners. So this puts it in the hands of your management team, your warehouse manager, your accounting manager, your sales manager, whoever it may be. As I mentioned, we offer this direct between sites, direct between bins. We use that via for an in-transit status. You can see here the receiving site location. So when we pick it from the warehouse, we would move it to truck 1. When truck 1 arrives at the warehouse across the state, then there would be a receiving transaction to move it from the truck into the new warehouse. All of that's available right there on the Panatrack scanner. Our direct site-to-site transfer is shown here. Enter it on the portal. The request is given in the warehouse. The order is picked and sent to the new location, and the transaction is completed. I mentioned the via site. I walked you through that workflow. From the computer, to the warehouse, to the truck, to the new warehouse. We offer bin moves. You can move items between bins based on a direction from the Panatrack portal. We can also create a transfer request on the handheld scanner itself. Just like you saw in the application on the portal, we can handle it right on the handheld scanner, creating that transaction, adding it to the transfer order. This can be used to work with your minimum and maximum bin quantities. All of this is configurable within the Panatrack solution. I'll skip through some of this because I know we're coming up on our time here and I want to give you time for questions. We do have the ability to enter that on the user. We have a Kanban capability allowing you to set a bin restock and empty bins. All of that can be configured in the Panatrack portal. I touched briefly earlier on stock count. Panatrack does integrate with the GP stock count schedule, as well as things like the Blue Moon quality count. Our stock counts occur in real time in the warehouse. There's no more writing it down on paper, hoping somebody can read the check marks and the ones and the zeros. Now we capture it on the scanner, and we log it in real time on the Panatrack portal. You can see we've counted a quantity, our previously counted quantity. How many have we submitted? What stock count was it on? Even what action was taken? Was it an additive stock count? Was it a replacement stock count? Panatrack puts all of that in the hands of the scanner and moves it right into GP in real time. Order fulfillment is a big feature for us, and it's a big feature for many customers. You need to ship inventory out to your customers to make sure they are happy. We have some requirements for GP. You must set it to use a separate fulfillment process. We handle orders, invoices, and fulfillment order invoices, depending on how we have it configured. We spend hours demoing this to people. It's a very capable transaction. Let's go ahead, let's once again pull that scanner up, look at a quick order fulfillment transaction. I will go back, I will go into my orders. I'll fulfill an order. let's go ahead and let's scroll down, select that test 8. You can tell I do a lot of orders here. And we're given our pick list. That pick list shows us the 3 items that are on our order. We can hit the pick button in the bottom left. And we walk up to an item, we scan the barcode on that item to validate that it's the correct one. So I've scanned it, I validated it, I'm going to grab these 5 items. I'm going to step down the shelf, I see more of them, I'm going to scan them. Oh no, I scanned the wrong item. I tried to pick up an item that was not on that order. Just like that, we pop up a flag, we say you cannot pick this, it's not the right item. Reduce the missed shipments, reduce the returns. Make things easy for your customers. When you pick the right item, enter in your quantity, and you're populated, your user is moved right to the next item. They can walk up to that item and they can scan it. In this case, we're going to go ahead and go back to our pick list and look. Again, we see those familiar icons. Let's pick the remaining of our 128 SD RAM here. I hit enter on that. And now I'm back to my pick list. You see I've picked 2 of my items. I fulfilled them, and I have verified that I have fulfilled the correct item. I can hit submit. It's going to tell me it's not been completed. You can set this up. We can prevent it from being submitted if it's not completed, or we can give it the option. In this case, let's say yes. We're going to see that, and just like that, there's our transaction confirmation showing us the code, showing us the number, just like that. Now that we've looked at the order fulfillment transaction briefly, we can look a bit at the process. Panatrack allows you the ability to pick items to a box, pick items to a pallet. All of that can be done. It can be passed along to your EDI or your shipping integration. Another transaction that does wonders for us is the verify order. This is a second step to the order fulfillment process. This allows you to continue verifying that you're sending the correct items, that you're picking the correct items for your customers. Let's look at a couple of our workflows quick. Our order pick and pack workflow comes off the shelf into a box, and that box goes into a truck. We can do our 2-step with an order verification, where we pick it to a staging area, we verify, we run the inventory or order verification transaction, pack the box, and then the box goes out to a customer. Just like this, customers may pick it up. Our understanding of the inventory process is based on our discussions with you to make sure that what you're getting fits your workflows best. We'll look at a couple of our other workflows just quickly here. I'll let you glance at them. If any of you would like these slides, would like some of the workflows available, let Brad know. Brad can reach out to me and I will get you whatever information you need on the Panatrack application. All of these different workflows are there. We can do picking lists. We can do packing lists and container labels. All of that's available within the Panatrack application. I mentioned that we support manufacturing. That means GP inventory assemblies, GP manufacturing, or process manufacturing like Vicinity or Horizon. All of those are available within the Panatrack application. The assembly transaction allows us to create GP assemblies on the handheld scanners. Create that, feed it right back into GP. We can configure work orders. These capabilities are meant to be tailored to your specific business process, and our team is here to help you find those. As I mentioned, we support a number of bundled solutions. Our stockroom, our inventory for projects, for jobs, that's HVAC, that's people who are using Key to Act, all sorts of stuff. Distribution, manufacturing, hub and spoke warehouse management are all available within the Panatrack application. And our solution is meant to be tailored to you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching and learning with us. If you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out to Brad at Turnkey Tech. You can also send us a message directly, sales@panatrack.com. We're here to give you whatever inventory information you need and make sure that you can take full advantage of the investment you've made in Dynamics.